Hello and welcome to the Infocus series section of Drishti IAS. I am Aisha Singh, and in today's video we will be discussing about India's latest farm exports data which has been released recently. So let us first see the timeline of the video. First we will be looking at the news, then India's agricultural trade, what has been the India's agricultural trade nowadays, and then what are the export drivers, what are the commodities that we are exporting on a major basis, and what are the import problems that we are facing, or what are the major commodities that we are importing in present times. Then India's farm export versus world food prices. In the end, we will be looking into a prelims MCQ. So this topic is of relevance from General Studies paper 3, that is agriculture. We all know that the relevance of agriculture is very much in both prelims and mains exam. So you should be able to know what are the export drivers and the import problem that India faces. So let us see the news, and the news has been taken from the Indian Express, and it says what India's latest farm export data shows. So this important word here is latest farm exports data. As we all know that India is a country which exports a lot of food grains, but on the other hand is dependent on the import of a lot of food grains also. So let us first see that what is the present scenario which is in the market. So it says that India's agricultural exports are poised to scale a new peak. So which is something a good news for India, that the agricultural export is reaching new heights and its agricultural exports are increasing on daily basis. But what is the problem is that with the increase of the agricultural export, the import of the agricultural sector or the import of the agricultural commodities are also increasing, and this is the problem that we are facing. Good part is that the exports are increasing, but the bad part is that the imports are also increasing. So in the year which is ending March 31, 2023, the exports will be seeing a new peak, while on the other hand the imports bringing down the overall farm trade surplus, because when the exports are increasing, on the other hand the imports in India are also increasing. So the trade surplus, which because of exports keeps on increasing, the import that we also do in our country on a very major basis is what narrows that trade surplus. So the government data shows that the value of farm exports in April-December 2022 stands at $39 billion, which was 7.9% higher than the 36.2 billion for the corresponding period of the previous year. So this data shows that the farm exports in our country is increasing as compared to the previous year. While on the other hand, the import of agri produce, which is at $27.8 billion in April-December 2022, have grown 15.4% over 24.1 billion from April-December 2021. So on the one hand we have good news that the exports are increasing, while on the other hand we have bad news that the imports are also increasing, and this is what is not able to narrow the trade deficit that we have in food sector also. Then the shrinking of the surplus on the farm trade account. So this is what is making the shrinking of the surplus, because the imports are also increasing. Okay, if you will you'll be able to see this chart. This tells us India's agricultural trade in $1 million. Agricultural trade. So this is year, exports, imports and trade surplus. So this data is from 2012 to 2022. So if you will see from in the year 2012 to 13, the trade surplus is high, while if you will see that with each passing year the trade surplus is decreasing. So in the year which is 2016-17, the trade surplus has reached a very low level, and from there on then also the trade surplus is fluctuating. Then it has increased, but again increased, then again it has decreased in the year 2019-20, while from the year 2019-20 again it is increasing, and then it has again started to decrease. And the trade surplus that is decreasing in present time, a lot of reason has also been given to the Russia-Ukraine war. Because of the Russia-Ukraine war, the agricultural commodities were not able to go from one place to another place on regular basis. So this was about the agricultural trade, and the trade surplus, if you will see, is fluctuating, and majorly now it is decreasing. Now let us talk about the export drivers of our economy when it comes to the agricultural commodities. What are the things that we export on major basis from our country to outside world? So the major two export drivers are, first is sugar and the second is rice. So rice and sugar are two export drivers that we majorly export from our country. And rice, whenever we talk about rice, there is this one name which absolutely comes to our mind, and that is the basmati rice. So we also export a lot of basmati rice. So India in 2021-22 shipped out an all-time high 21.21 million metric tons of rice. So this was an all-time high that in 2021 we exported. And in the current fiscal, the growth has been primarily led by the basmati rice. So we are exporting a lot of amount of basmati rice, and this actually includes a majority of the percentage of the export of rice that we do from our country. So its exports have gone up by 40.3% in value. And then the second component that we export a lot from our country is sugar. So sugar exports hit a record value of 4.60 billion in 2021-22. So rice and sugar is what we are exporting from our country to outside world. And then comes the marine product export. So the marine product export is also something which is happening at a good pace in our country, and that too is likely to exceed last year's peak of 7.77 billion. So in marine export sector also we are doing quite well. So this was about the export drivers from our country. Then the export of some big ticket items have faltered or slowed. So the export of few of the big commodities has been reduced and is not showing that much of pace. And few of the examples is that buffalo meat is one of the examples. Its value has fell 5.1% in April-December 2021. Then comes spices. Spices have also faltered down 6.7%. Then the next is wheat. Wheat exports have grown by 3.9%. So these are few of the items that have not performed well, especially the buffalo meat and the spices, while the export of wheat on the other hand has grown. So buffalo meat and spices are not performing well, while the wheat exports have increased. Now let us talk about the import problem, that what are the commodities that we are importing on a large basis from outside and is adding on to our deficit. So that is the growth in import that should be a cause of concern for us, because the mainly three commodities that we are importing from outside which is increasing our trade deficit. First and foremost is the vegetable oil. We export majority of the vegetable oil from outside, and the import shot up from 11.09 billion in 2020-21 to 18.99 billion in 21-22. So if you will see the gap is huge. So it is about 7 billion that the import we have increased of 7 billion. And the imports now account for over 60% of the country's estimated annual oil consumption. It means we are when it comes to import of vegetable oil, we are dependent on the import of vegetable oil from outside, because a country who has as big population as ours, 60% of import is a huge numbers. Then the second component being the cotton. So when we talk about cotton, India's cotton exports reached an all-time high of 4.33 billion back in 2011 and 12. And then comes cashew. Cashew says that during April-December 2022, imports have posted a 64.6% rise to 1.64 billion from 996.49 million. So this is also a huge gap, that cashew also we are importing on a very high basis from outside. So it is the cashew, cotton and vegetable oil that we are importing from outside in our country. Okay, now look at this chart. This chart talks about India's farm exports versus world food prices. So this red line or the red bar which you are seeing is the exports, while the blue bar you are seeing is the FAO food price index. So what if you're okay, see this chart properly. So this talks about in 2012-13 the exports, that is in billions, it is 41.73, while the FAO food price index, that is FPI, which is out of 100, it is 122.51. Then again in the year 2013-14 the FPI is above 100, but in the years, if you will see after 2014-15, the FPI food price index and the export levels have deteriorated or is going down. Then from 119 it has reached down to 109, then from 109 to 90, and then again in 2016-17 is that it has increased from 90 to 94, then from 94 to 98, 98 to again down to 94, 96. But what we are seeing at present is that since the time of 2020-21, the food price index has again started to come up. That in 2021 we have seen that again it is coming above 100, that is 102, and then in 2021-22 again it has increased to 132. So 132 is a very high number, and this food price index, that is, it is coming up again because the amount that we are paying for food, that the food price index is increasing, and the majority of the, I would say, the credit for this goes to the Russia-Ukraine war. Because of the Russia-Ukraine war, the commodity of the agricultural produce was not able to export or import from one place to another place, and it was the European Union or the NATO countries which was putting sanctions over the Russia. So the European countries and the NATO countries were not able to import things from the Russian continent or the Russian country. So because of this Russia-Ukraine war, the halt in the agricultural produces which was taking place in the form of import and export was halted, and because of this halt of agricultural commodities, things could not move from one place to another place, and that is why the demand and supply gap could be seen. And because of this demand and supply gap, the prices of the commodities increased, and that is the reason that the food price index of FAO came to all-time high in 2021-22. So this was about India's farm exports versus the world food price. Then now in the end, it's time for the prelims MCQ, and you people need to tell me the answer in the comment section. And this says, consider the following statements. First, three main commodities that India export are vegetable oil, cashew and cotton. And second is, the two main commodities that India import are rice and sugar. So you have to tell which is the correct statement, and the codes are 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. So try to solve this question and give me the answer in the comment section. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Till we meet next time, keep reading and keep writing.